I did find a typo on page 5. I literally don't even remember who this is. If this book is not a 5-star read, I will be disappointed in all of you. Hi everyone, it's me. Today we're gonna do one of those videos that I'm sure you've seen every single booktuber do, where I just read until I find a 5-star book. I don't know how else to describe this. This is probably a bad opening to this video. I just kind of pressed record and didn't have a plan on what I was gonna say. But okay, let's try that again. Focus. In today's video, I am going to read books until I find a 5-star read, and then this video will end. I think I just said exactly what I said the first time, but you get the point, right? Okay, yeah, so I've seen every single booktuber I watch do this video and it just looks like a lot of fun. It's just really funny that this video could be so short or it could be so long, just depending on how long it takes for me to find a 5-star read. But our first book that we are going to be reading and seeing if it's a 5-star is Bride by Leigh Hazelwood. This is her newest book. It just came out like, I don't know, a week ago or something, maybe 2 weeks ago. But I'm sure you all know Leigh Hazelwood from Love Hypothesis, Love Theoretically, Love on the Brain. I don't know, she's really well known for her STEMinist romances. I think that's what the little subgenre is called. But this is actually Leigh Hazelwood's first dive into paranormal romance. So I always love when authors go into different genres and branch out, and so that's why Bride was actually one of my most anticipated releases of 2024, even though I personally was not the biggest fan of Love Hypothesis. I'm really excited to read this one. So I started it yesterday, just barely. I read 36 pages yesterday, so we're not like so far into the book, but this follows a vampire named Misery. This is our female main character, and she is like some sort of like royalty or just like part of a higher like influential family in the vampire community. And she has spent like most of her life living in the human world because she was like sent off there as some sort of like a peace offering to the humans. And she has been forced into a marriage of convenience with Lo, I think his name is, Lo Moreland the Were / werewolf. They call them wares in this book. That's just where our book starts off. We literally start off on the day of her wedding and her like getting ready for her wedding. And yeah, in this world, vampires and werewolves are just like constantly at battle with each other. Like they don't like each other. They want to like tear each other apart, and not in a good way. That's the premise of our little paranormal romance here. So far it's really fun reading. I did find a typo on page 5, or like a spelling mistake. Instead of survival, we say survival. It's just right there. I'm just gonna overlook it, you know? The first print of the book, sometimes these things happen. Do I think this will be a 5-star read? Honestly, probably not, but it's just the book that I'm currently reading right now as I'm starting this video. The only other Leigh Hazelwood book I've read was Love Hypothesis, and while I thought it was fun, I thought it was like a 3-star average book. I didn't get like the super hype that like, you know, everyone was falling in love with that book, but I do think she is a very like witty, fun author. Like I think her writing is fun to read. She's really good at putting together these romances, and I've only heard good things from the people who have read Bride so far. So maybe we will get surprised, and maybe this will be a 5-star read, and maybe this video will only be 5 minutes long, but I honestly highly doubt it. We're gonna keep an open mind. Could be a 5-star read, could be not. Yeah, I don't know, let's just read it.
I see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can read the signs. You need to get away. It's time we make a change. Oh, you know you'll always have me. Baby, I will always stay with you.
Okay, so just an update on how we're doing with Bride. I am 300 pages in, so I'm like getting to the last part of this book. My initial thoughts were this book is like really, really funny. Like really funny. Lots of parts about it that I really enjoy. Is my camera crooked? Yes, it is. There we go. There are a lot of parts that I really enjoy, like the wit, the banter. I don't know, Leigh Hazelwood is good at writing funny romances. Highly hilarious. Hi. And I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. I think the overall story I'm also really liking as well. This was advertised as a paranormal romance, so not like a full fantasy, but like a paranormal. But there are like more fantasy elements than I was expecting. Like, it's definitely not a fully fledged fantasy, but there's definitely some sort of fantasy political plot going on. And there's also some sort of like a mystery, like a missing person mystery type of a plot, which is really fun. Yeah, I'm just enjoying the story a lot more than I thought I was going to. I feel like with The Love Hypothesis from Leigh Hazelwood, when I was reading that, the majority of the book was just about the romance. Everything else just fell as a side plot, but in Bride, there's like a full real plot going on along with the romance, and I'm really enjoying that. And yeah, I don't know, it's just really funny. At this point though, I will have to say, Sage, get your cat butt out of the frame. I don't think at this point this book is a 5-star read. I do have a rating in my mind, but I want to finish the book obviously before I give you my star rating. There's just like some parts about the romance that are so like muddy in a very vulgar way, and I'm not really into that. There's just some details that make me a little bit uncomfortable. Kind of like, I guess, like after the halfway point, this book did get a little too smutty for my liking, and I don't like when that happens because it kind of takes away from the story and the plot for me. But that's like really my only complaint so far about Bride. It's really fun. It's not your like typical serious fantasy. It's really silly, and I'm really enjoying that about it. Like, it's not taking itself too seriously. It's kind of like joking about itself, like joking about the fact that it's a vampire werewolf romance. It knows that it's like so tropey. It just like makes fun of itself. I don't know. It's really funny. But I'm gonna probably finish reading this today, hopefully, and then I will have my actual star rating. I just finished it. I'm gonna rate this book 3 stars, and I was really torn between 2 different ratings. On one hand, I was very close to giving this book 4 stars because overall I did really like the story. It was so fun, it was fast-paced, the writing was like absolutely hilarious. Like, I get why everyone loves Leigh Hazelwood now. She's just like really funny. Like, she seems like a really funny person. She makes really funny, clever jokes. Overall, like, I really enjoyed this book. It was really fun, and it could have very easily been a 4-star book, but there were just a couple things in the, let's say, intimate scenes that I just was not a fan of, especially in that last one at the end there. No. Jail. I don't want to hear about that. I am terrified of alpha wears or wolves or whatever now. I don't want to hear about that. I also think that Leigh Hazelwood, like when she writes her male main characters, I found the same thing about, what's his name? Carlson Adam, the main male character in The Love Hypothesis. He turned into a completely different character during like the spice scenes, and I feel like the main male character in Bride did the exact same thing, like just turned into a completely different person. The like style of his dialogue, like the writing of his dialogue completely changed. Yeah, I just felt very uncomfortable and actually a little bit terrified while I was reading the smutty parts of this book. If I just like forget that those exist though, very easily could have given this book a 4-star rating. So overall, love the experience, but I wish to get those scenes out of my head. So that is done now, and I'm gonna pick my next book to read that I'll start at some point this evening, but I wanna watch Love is Blind this evening because new episodes of that just came out. But I think I think I know what the next book I want to read is, and it is up here, Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This could very well be a 5-star read because I enjoyed Ninth House a lot. I think I gave that a 4.5 star, and sequels tend to be better, like the sequels in duologies, because like we're wrapping everything up, we're already familiar with the world we're in, and so I think this could very easily be a 5-star read. So I'm gonna read it next. I've also just been so excited to get into it ever since I read Ninth House. If you don't know what Ninth House is or this duology, I read Ninth House in my reading the best books of 2023 video, so go watch that if you want to hear more about it. But quick version is this is a like dark academia fantasy. We're set at Yale University. We have a female main character who can like see ghosts and like communicate with ghosts, and there's a lot to do with like the secret societies of Yale, like the real life secret societies like Skull and Bones and like all those societies that you hear about, but like fantasy style. So I'm gonna get into Hellbent. I don't know, hopefully this is a 5-star read. We will see.
I met an old man. I said, tell me your story.
I feel like I'm reading this book and something about it, I don't know. I feel like I forgot all the characters' names and like who they were and like what society they belong to. I don't know. I'm like reading this book and like these people keep showing up and I'm like, who was that? Like, who are you? It's taking me a while, I feel like, to get back into this world. And it's kind of funny because I remember when I was reading Ninth House, I obviously really enjoyed the book, but I do remember like the first half of it was kind of tough for me to get through because there was a lot of information to take in. There was a lot of characters, different societies, a lot of stuff happening that I had to retain information in my brain. But overall, I loved the experience. I like got the hang of like who everyone was by the end of it. But now reading Hellbent like a month later, I feel like my brain has just completely forgotten all the characters, what happened in the first book. I thought I remembered more than this because like I really enjoyed the book, so I thought I would just be able to dive right in, and it hasn't even been that long since I read Ninth House, but for some reason I'm just like not remembering anything, and it's kind of a little bit difficult for me to get back into the story again because like someone will show up and I'll be like, who was that? Like someone will call our main character and I'll be like, I literally don't even remember who this is. I feel like I'm generally good at remembering plots and characters and stuff, especially if it is like a series, a duology, trilogy, whatever, and I know I'm gonna go on to the next book. I always like make a point to remember the information in my head, but for some reason I don't know, my brain has failed me this time around. I am enjoying like the vibe of this book. I have immediately immersed myself back into this like dark academia mystery type of a vibe, but in terms of the specifics of the story and the plot, I'm just completely lost. Leigh Bardugo could just do anything at the moment with the plot. There could be so many plot holes going on and I absolutely would not know because I have no idea what's going on. But I'm here for the ride. It's fun. I'm just a little confused. I'm gonna keep reading today.
It takes to heart what I wrote. I said, son, when you grow up, you'll be fine. I know you've got questions on your mind.
Okay, I'm about to work out, but I just want to give you a quick book update before I do. I did finish Hellbent yesterday. It was kind of a slow going. It's been a couple days since I have updated you, but I just finished Hellbent last night, and overall, I liked it, but it was not a 5-star read. I ended up giving this book a 4.25. First of all, why did I think this was a duology? I was like 100% convinced that Ninth House and Hellbent was a duology. Like I thought this would complete the story in the series and it didn't. This is not a duology, this is a series, possibly a trilogy, maybe more. I don't know, I was just like so convinced this was a duology. Maybe because I recently read Six of Crows from Leigh Bardugo and that was a duology and I just thought she worked in duologies. I don't know, you guys. I was reading this book and then I was getting to the end of it and it felt like things were concluding, but then like at the very end, there was kind of like, not like a crazy cliffhanger, but like there were open ends and it really seemed like the story was like moving on to something else and I was like, wait, hold on. This is the last page, what's going on? And I was very confused and I was like, is this the end? Is this just how this world is ending? And I looked it up on Goodreads, and then I realized there is a third book. Release date not announced, title not announced, but there is like an Alex Stern #3 book like listing on Goodreads. This is not a complete duology, you guys. This is an unfinished series. But that aside, I did enjoy this book overall. I had a few mixed feelings first, so I think I'll talk about the mixed feelings first. First of all, as I mentioned, it was kind of like difficult for me to get back into this world because, I don't know, it's only been a month since I read Ninth House, so it hasn't been that long, but I just feel like there's so much to know when you're reading this book. Like, there's so much lore, whether it's like Yale-based info, real-life secret society info and history, along with the actual like magic lore and demon lore. Like, there's a lot of lore and mythology involved in the story, and a lot of the info just kind of honestly went over my head. Like, I ingested it and then it left. So this is definitely a book that you have to turn your brain on to read, at least for me, and that's not a bad thing, but I feel like some people, when they pick up a book, want to just like get whisked away in a story, and this is definitely a book that like, it doesn't quite whisk you away because like you do need to actively use your brain to think about stuff. But the one thing I actually like disliked in this book is there was one storyline that I absolutely did not care about, like at all. Also, without getting spoilery, I'm gonna be very vague here, but there's one specific like task or mission that our main characters have been trying to do since Ninth House. So like all across Ninth House, all across Hellbent, there's like one mission that we have been trying to do and failing to do. And I feel like at one point when I was reading this book, I was like, how many dang times are we gonna fail this mission? Like, can we just like succeed and move on to the next thing? So I did get a little bit like bored and irritated at this one thing that we were trying to do so many times. And so I feel like this book seemed very long to me, and parts of it definitely dragged on, which is something that I found in common with Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I just think that like she's so good at tying plot points together, like with missions, with heists. She always has all of these like side quests going on, and while you're going on the journey, you're just like, where are we headed, Leigh? Where are we headed? It can kind of get like boring and like disengaging and not interesting and fun to read anymore until you get to like the end, when everything comes together, all the side plots, all the side tasks, all these little loose ends come together and like tie together so nicely and cleverly at the end. Like, that's what Leigh is good at, but I just feel like the journey and the mission, like working towards that point, can get a little bit tedious and boring and long. But I did overall enjoy it. I gave it a 4.25, as I mentioned. I'm just kind of like blown away by Leigh Bardugo, to be honest, at like how she integrates like real life Yale history to like these fantastical elements. Like, there's a lot of history in this book that is actually true, like real people who were like in the history of Yale and like built certain buildings, like architects and stuff. I just found like while I was reading this book, I was so confused sometimes. I was like, is this real life or is this history? Like, where is the line drawn? What's fiction and what's reality? And I found that to be kind of a disorienting but cool experience. So that's Hellbent. Unfortunately, it was not a 5-star read. I thought it might be. So I am now gonna pick up the big guns, okay? I am going to pick a book that should be a 5-star read. From the amount of times I have heard about this book, like heard about people talking about it, the amount of times I've gotten recommended to read this book, if this book is not a 5-star read, I will be disappointed in all of you. And that book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I am finally going to dive into this world. I have never read a Brandon Sanderson book in my life. I am excited, but also really nervous, to be honest. I feel like this book, like this series, and then Brandon Sanderson as a whole has just been so hyped up for me, and everyone's like, he's the king of fantasy. He's like the best fantasy writer ever. I don't know what to expect at this point, to be honest. One more reason to be nervous to get into this book, though, is I did peek into it a little bit, and first of all, these pages are huge. Like, this book doesn't seem like that thick, but it is quite tall. When you open it, like, the font is slightly less than average size, and like the line spacing, like the words are very tight together. It seems to be a very long book. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna start Mistborn today, and this better freaking be a 5-star read.
They're haunting me so I can't sleep. She was a pretty little liar who cut me deep. 'Cause she left me here alone.
I've read a little bit of this book. I'm on page 106, so I'm giving you my 100-page update. Honestly, don't hate me. I have no strong feelings yet, to be quite honest. I thought I would be like completely whisked away into the story and this world, just like judging by, again, how many people have recommended this series to me, how many people have recommended this author to me. I'm not hating it. I'm not absolutely loving it yet, but we still have like, I don't know, over 400 pages to go in this book. So I do still have hope that this could reach that 5-star god tier level. But yeah, just as of right now, this very second, I'm not like completely sold yet. I'm sorry. So for those of you who don't know what Mistborn is, this is a trilogy. It's like set in this Cosmere, I think. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about Brandon Sanderson yet, but I'm pretty sure all his books are set in this thing called the Cosmere. There is a metal-based magic system where if you are an allomancer or if you're Mistborn or misting, I don't know, there's like a bunch of different terms to describe a magical person. You can basically like burn metal is how they describe it, and then use the metal to like do different forms of magic. It seems like we are following this group of kind of like misfit thieves who are hired to help this rebel overtake like the capital city. That's what I'm getting from the book and story so far. As of right now, it's literally just giving me Six of Crows, but like Kaz is nicer and it's more of a collaborative team effort. I'm getting kind of like thrown off a little bit because the main character, his name is Kelsier, but some of his friends or like crew members call him Kel. And whenever anyone says Kel, I just think of Kel from A Darker Shade of Magic, and like that's kind of throwing me off a little bit, but I'm sure I'll get used to like this Kel. I don't know. I feel like so far the plot sounds interesting, but right now I'm just like not sold on any of the characters yet. We are still only on page 100, so many things could change, so don't get mad at me yet. I'm not giving this book a rating yet, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep reading it and hopefully I start like feeling that Brandon Sanderson magic that I have heard everyone talk about.
Just tell me, why did she go?
I'm eating my words. I'm eating my words with this one. This was such a good book. Before I give you my overall rating, I do want to talk about it. So hold on, I'm gonna open my phone because I was typing notes as I was reading this. So whenever I'm reading a book, especially a fantasy book, there are basically 3 things that I'm looking for. The first thing is the plot. If we don't have an interesting plot, obviously we don't have an interesting book when it comes to fantasy. Second are the characters. If I don't care about the characters, I'm not gonna care about whatever journey or mission they're on. So characters are also very important to me. And then the third thing is the vibe, which I think is the hardest thing to capture in a book. You can have a great idea for a story, you can have really interesting characters, but you really need the vibe to add that like you know, to really like get you immersed into the world. You need the vibe. When I gave you my 100-page update, we had the plot right off the bat. At around page 150, that's when I got sold on the characters. Basically, we have 2 main POVs. We have like a little bit from other characters, but like mostly we have 2 main POVs in this book. First one's a character named Kelsier, who is like the more mentor type character and like the leader of the group, like the Kaz Brecker of the group. And then we have Vin, who is like a new recruit, kind of like Lila from A Darker Shade of Magic. Those are 2 main POVs. And while Vin's POV was like really interesting to me right off the bat, like immediately, Kelsier didn't really grow on me until later. So around page like 150, I think was the turning point for me and Kelsier. I was finally starting to like emotionally connect to him. So page 150, we had the characters locked in. Then I would say at around page 200, that's when the vibe clicked. And there's not really anything I can say for sure at like what gives a book a good vibe. It's just like a combination of everything, I think. Like it's the feeling you get. And so yeah, at page 200, the vibe clicked. And then that's when I was just like fully invested. And then I didn't talk to you at all until I finished the book, which is over 500 pages. So I was definitely like, I feel rash and a little bit quick to jump to conclusions on my feelings when I spoke to you at the 100-page mark, because when you're reading a fantasy, especially like a high fantasy that has a really deep world, it's hard to judge at the 100-page mark if the book's 500 pages long and then also it's a trilogy and then also part of an entire Cosmere of like, I don't know, 15 books or more. You just kind of have to like take your time with this one. I have to give this book 5 stars. It won me over. it did eventually win me over. And so this is our 5-star read for this video, and that means this video has to end now. I think it's been like close to 2 weeks of me filming this video, so that's how long it took me to find a 5-star read. That being said, that is it for this video, I guess. If you did enjoy this video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what the most recent 5-star read was for you. Also, just let me know if you want to see more videos like this. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!